In a quaint Italian eatery in downtown Austin, a trembling 19-year-old college student named Tommy accidentally spilled an entire glass of red wine onto Elon Musk's laptop, drenching the costly device and soaking critical paper scattered across the table. The restaurant fell into a stunned silence as Tommy stood frozen, horrified by the realization that he had just ruined equipment worth more than he could earn in months. Diners held their breath, anticipating a fiery outburst from one of the world's most powerful billionaires, with some even pulling out their phones, expecting a viral spectacle that would ruin the young waiter's life. But what Elon Musk did next left everyone in the room astounded and transformed Tommy's life in ways no one could have foreseen. The incident occurred at Giuseppe's, a modest, family-run Italian restaurant that Elon Musk had discovered during a late-night quest for a quiet workspace. Unlike the upscale venues typically associated with someone of his stature, Giuseppe's offered something he valued more than luxury: anonymity and an authentic ambience where he could think undisturbed. Housed in a century-old corner building with a weathered yet well-maintained brick facade, the restaurant exuded warmth and simplicity. Inside, wooden tables were draped with red and white checkered tablecloths, walls adorned with family photos and Italian landscapes, and the air carried the comforting aroma of tomato sauce, garlic, and freshly baked bread, greeting every guest who crossed the threshold. Giuseppe Marconi had founded the restaurant 40 years earlier after immigrating from Naples, armed only with family recipes and a determination to build a better life. Now in his 70s, he still oversaw the kitchen most evenings, while his children and grandchildren handled various aspects of the business. 3 generations of Marconis worked side by side, creating an atmosphere that felt more like a home invitation than a dining experience. Elon stumbled upon this gem almost by accident during a hectic period at Tesla's Austin factory, seeking a secluded spot to work after hours. He wanted a place where he wouldn't be immediately recognized, allowing him to sit quietly with his laptop and enjoy a good meal. Giuseppe's unassuming exterior and tucked-away location seemed promising, and his first visit confirmed its appeal. The staff were friendly but not overbearing, and most regular patrons were more focused on their food and conversations than on the man working in the corner. Over the past few months, Elon had become something of a regular, typically arriving during quieter hours and claiming the same corner table, which offered a view of the restaurant while he worked on his laptop. The Marconi family quickly understood his preference for privacy and accommodated him with the same warm respect they extended to all their long-standing customers. On this particular Tuesday evening, the restaurant was unusually bustling for a weekday. Elon sat at his usual corner table, engrossed in emails on his laptop, occasionally glancing up to observe the lively yet controlled chaos of the dinner rush. He appreciated the energy of the place, the multi-generational family staff, the loyal customers who had been coming for decades, and the sense of community that permeated every interaction. The room buzzed with the pleasant hum of chatter and the clink of cutlery against plates. Nearby, an elderly couple celebrated their anniversary, the woman glowing as her husband reached across the table to hold her hand. A few tables away, a 3-generation family laughed over a massive plate of pasta. In the center of the room, a group of friends engaged in a spirited debate about politics and sports, their voices rising and falling with the intensity of their discussion. Giuseppe moved through the dining area with the confidence of someone who had walked these floors for decades, pausing to greet customers by name, inquiring about their children and grandchildren, and recalling their preferences and special occasions. His daughter Maria managed the floor with graceful efficiency, while his son Antonio worked behind the bar, mixing cocktails and pouring wine with a practiced finesse that often drew admiring glances. Elon smiled as he watched this scene unfold, all while responding to emails from his SpaceX team about recent developments. There was something deeply satisfying about being in a place where genuine human connections took precedence over technology and status, even as he used that same technology to manage his global enterprises. Tommy Rodriguez, a 19-year-old college student, was working his 3rd shift as a waiter at Giuseppe's, still adjusting to the demands of his new job and eager to make a good impression. His anxiety spiked when he recognized the man at table 12 as Elon Musk. Tommy had been hired the previous week after a brief interview with Maria Marconi. His mother had been a regular at Giuseppe's for years, and when she mentioned her son was looking for evening work to help pay for college, Maria immediately offered him a position. The Marconis believed in supporting the community that sustained them, and hiring local students was one way they lived out that commitment. For Tommy, the job was a lifeline. 6 months earlier, his mother had been diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis, and the medical bills, combined with her reduced work hours, had strained the family's finances. As the eldest of 3 siblings, Tommy had taken on extra responsibilities at home while pursuing a full-time degree in business with a focus on entrepreneurship at the University of Texas. This evening marked only his 3rd shift, and he was still learning the restaurant systems and rhythms. Maria assigned him to the section that included Elon's corner table, noting that the gentleman was a regular who preferred minimal interaction, efficient service, and privacy to work. Just bring him his usual Montepulciano, take his order quickly, and don't hover, she instructed. He's been coming here for months and appreciates that we treat him like any other customer. Tommy nodded, trying to appear calm, but inside he was anything but. He instantly recognized Elon Musk, the man who had revolutionized space travel and electric vehicles, whose name seemed to appear in the news almost daily with his groundbreaking ideas and occasional controversial statements. The thought of serving someone he had written college papers about for his business courses was more than a little intimidating. Throughout the evening, Tommy did his best to balance his attention across all his tables, giving Elon the space he clearly desired. He successfully delivered the wine and took the dinner order without incident, though his hand trembled slightly as he placed the glass on the table. 90 minutes into his shift, Tommy was starting to find his footing. He had memorized the specials, improved his timing for checking on customers' orders, and even received compliments from the elderly couple for his attentive service. His confidence was growing, though he still moved through the restaurant with the cautious focus of someone determined not to make mistakes. The accident happened in an instant. Tommy was carrying a tray of drinks to a nearby table when another waiter bumped into him in a narrow aisle. The slight collision was enough to send a full glass of red wine spilling directly onto Elon's open laptop, soaking the keyboard and screen before spilling across the table onto important documents and notebooks. It was as if time slowed to a crawl. Tommy watched in horror as the glass tipped from his tray, its contents arcing through the air with dreadful inevitability. The dark red liquid splashed across the sleek laptop's keyboard, seeping between the keys and streaking down the screen, then spread to the paper scattered on the table. The restaurant seemed to freeze. Conversations halted mid-sentence as diners turned to witness what would surely be an explosive reaction from one of the world's most influential businessmen. Tommy stood stunned, stammering apologies as he fumbled for napkins, his face flushed with embarrassment and fear of the consequences of destroying such expensive equipment belonging to such a prominent figure. "I'm so sorry, sir." "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry," Tommy gasped, grabbing napkins from his apron pocket and nearby empty tables, desperately trying to blot the spilled wine. His hands shook so badly that he knocked over the empty glass, which rolled toward the table's edge, but Elon caught it just in time. Maria Marconi was already hurrying over, her expression a mix of concern and professional composure. Giuseppe emerged from the kitchen, wiping his hands on his apron, assessing the situation from across the room. Other waiters paused their tasks, their faces reflecting a range of emotions from sympathy to relief that it hadn't happened to them. Tommy felt as though the floor might swallow him whole. In his mind, he calculated the cost of the laptop, which undoubtedly exceeded what he'd earn in months at Giuseppe's. The image of his mother's disappointed face flashed through his thoughts as he imagined telling her he'd lost his job after just 3 days, with tuition payments due in less than a month. Everyone expected anger, demands for compensation, or at the very least a sharp reprimand that would likely cost Tommy his job. What happened instead left everyone in the restaurant speechless. Elon looked at his wine-soaked laptop, then at Tommy's terrified face, and began to laugh, not sarcastically or bitterly, but with genuine amusement. "Well," he said, still smiling as he carefully pushed his laptop away from the pooling wine, "I guess that's one way to force a break from work." The laughter was so unexpected, so contrary to what everyone anticipated, that for a moment, no one knew how to react. Tommy stood frozen, clutching napkins, blinking in confusion. Maria halted mid-step, her prepared apology stilled on her lips. Nearby diners exchanged looks of astonishment and relief. Tommy, still trembling with nerves, continued to apologize. "Mr. Musk, I'm so sorry. I'll find a way to pay for this. I know it's worth more than I make in a year. Please don't have me fired, I just started here, and my family needs this job." The words tumbled out in a rush of anxiety, Tommy's voice quivering with emotion. His mind raced with impossible calculations, how many months or years it would take to pay for the damaged computer, whether he could pick up extra work, or if he'd have to drop out of school to work full-time. Elon raised a hand to stop the flood of apologies. "Tommy, right?" he said, having overheard the young man's name from other staff. "Take a deep breath. Accidents happen. No one's hurt, it's just a machine." The calm, reasonable response seemed to confuse Tommy further. He had braced for anger, demands, consequences, not understanding. He continued to futilely dab at the wine-soaked laptop, as if enough napkins might somehow reverse the damage. "But sir, your computer, all your work, I ruined it," Tommy insisted, unable to accept that such a costly mistake could be so easily forgiven. The response was so unexpected that several nearby diners began pulling out their phones, anticipating that this would become a viral moment showcasing either incredible composure under stress or a delayed rage yet to erupt. People at adjacent tables held their phones at the ready, cameras discreetly, and in some cases not so discreetly, aimed at the corner table. In an era of social media, moments when celebrities or influential figures found themselves in unexpected situations often became viral content within hours. Some clearly expected an outburst that would make for a gripping spectacle, while others seemed curious about the next steps in this surprisingly calm interaction. But Elon's reaction continued to defy expectations. He called over Giuseppe Marconi, the restaurant's owner, who approached quickly, expecting to manage a crisis. "Giuseppe, I want you to know Tommy just did me a favor," Elon announced loudly enough for nearby tables to hear. "I've been working 16-hour days for weeks, and apparently, I needed a glass of wine to remind me I'm here to eat, not run a business." Giuseppe reached the table, his expression a blend of worry and confusion. He had already been formulating the restaurant's response to what should have been a disaster, offers of free meals, promises to cover damages, perhaps even letting the new waiter go to demonstrate how seriously they took the incident. But Elon's words and relaxed demeanor completely upended his expectations. "Mr. Musk, we're deeply sorry for this mishap," Giuseppe began, his Italian accent growing more pronounced in his concern. "Of course, we'll take full responsibility for any damage to your property." Elon closed the laptop fully and set it aside. "Work will be there tomorrow, but when was the last time I actually savored my meal instead of eating while staring at a screen?" he mused, still smiling. "Giuseppe, how long have I been coming to your restaurant?" "Around 4 months, sir," Giuseppe answered, slightly thrown by the question. "And in those 4 months, have you ever seen me eat without my laptop open in front of me?" Giuseppe thought for a moment, then shook his head. "No, sir, I don't believe so." "Exactly," Elon said, gesturing to the closed, wine-drenched laptop. "I come here because the food is outstanding, and the atmosphere is real. But I've never fully experienced that because I'm always half in a virtual world of spreadsheets and emails." He glanced around at the restaurant, the families enjoying meals together, couples engrossed in conversation, friends laughing and exchanging stories. "Everyone else here understands something I keep forgetting: meals are meant to be enjoyed, not just fuel for the body to keep working." Giuseppe, who had been prepared to apologize profusely and possibly let go Tommy to appease an angry patron, was thrown off by this response. "So you're not upset about the computer?" he asked, still trying to process the unexpected turn. "It's just a thing," Elon replied with a dismissive wave. "Things can be replaced. But the time we lose, the connections we miss by being distracted by those things, that can't be replaced." As he spoke, Tommy still stood nearby, holding a handful of wine-soaked napkins, his expression shifting from dread to confusion to the first signs of relief. He had been certain his brief tenure at Giuseppe's was over, along with his ability to help support his family. Now he wasn't sure what was happening, but the fear in his gut was slowly beginning to fade. Elon turned to Tommy, who was still standing there, frozen with the napkins in hand. "Tommy, I'd like you to do something for me. I want you to sit down for 5 minutes." The request was so unexpected that Tommy glanced around, as if to confirm Elon was addressing him. "I can't, sir. I'm working, and I need to clean this up and, Giuseppe," Elon called to the owner, "can Tommy take a 5-minute break? I'd like to talk to him." Giuseppe, still grappling with the unusual situation, nodded in agreement. Of course, of course. Maria can cover for him for a few minutes." Maria, who had been standing nearby ready to assist with the cleanup, nodded and immediately went to check on Tommy's other customers. The well-oiled operation of the Marconi family restaurant smoothly adapted to this unexpected turn, with other waiters discreetly helping to clean up the spilled wine, giving Elon and Tommy some space. After Giuseppe's nod of approval, still bewildered by the turn of events, Tommy reluctantly sat across from Elon. He perched on the edge of the chair, his posture tense, clearly ready to jump up if needed. His apron was stained with wine, and he still held a napkin, unconsciously twisting it, waiting to hear what this influential man wanted to say. "How long have you been working here?" Elon asked. 3 days, Tommy replied quietly, his voice barely audible over the renewed hum of conversation in the restaurant as other diners gradually returned to their meals and discussions. "And before this job?" Tommy hesitated, wondering why Elon Musk cared about his work history, but the genuine curiosity in the older man's expression prompted him to answer. "I worked at the university bookstore for a year, but the schedule wasn't flexible enough for my classes. Before that, I mowed lawns in my neighborhood during high school." Tommy explained that he was a college student studying business, working nights to pay for tuition and support his younger siblings while his mother recovered from an illness that prevented her from working full-time. "6 months ago, my mom was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis," Tommy said, his voice steadying. "She's a dental hygienist, but the pain in her hands keeps her from working full days. My dad isn't in our lives, so I'm trying to help with bills and look after my brother and sister when my mom has bad days." "So you're balancing school and family responsibilities," Elon observed. "That's impressive. What do you want to do after you graduate?" The question seemed to catch Tommy off guard. He'd been so focused on immediate challenges, passing each semester, paying bills, helping his family through this tough period, that he hadn't allowed himself to think much about the distant future lately. "I'm studying business management," he said after a moment. "My long-term goal, well, I'd like to open a restaurant someday. Something like this place, actually." He gestured around Giuseppe's, his face lighting up with genuine enthusiasm for the first time since the incident. "What kind of restaurant?" Elon asked, showing sincere interest. Tommy began to relax slightly as he shared what mattered to him. "I'd combine my mom's Mexican recipes with some of my own ideas, authentic food, but in a family atmosphere. There aren't many good restaurants in our neighborhood where families can afford to eat together regularly. I'd like to create a place where people feel welcomed, where they can gather for everyday meals, not just special occasions." Over the next few minutes, under the astonished gazes of the restaurant staff and patrons, Elon engaged Tommy in a heartfelt conversation about his goals, studies, and family situation. The young man's nervousness gradually faded as he realized this wasn't a trap or a prelude to punishment, but a genuine interest in his life and aspirations. They discussed Tommy's business courses, which professors had influenced him most, and what aspects of restaurant management intrigued him. Tommy shared his observations about what made Giuseppe successful, the family involvement, the consistency of the food's quality, how they remembered regular customers' preferences and made everyone feel valued. When Tommy mentioned his dream of one day opening a restaurant that would serve his community the way Giuseppe's served its own, Elon's eyes lit up with recognition. "That kind of thinking is what builds a sustainable business," Elon said. "Not just what you want to sell, but who you want to serve and why." Leaning forward slightly, his usual rapid speech slowed to a more measured pace. "The most successful businesses solve real problems or meet real needs. You've identified something specific, affordable, quality family dining in an area that lacks it. That's not just a business idea, it's a community service. Tommy nodded, visibly surprised and gratified by the validation of his vision. Exactly. I don't just want to sell food. I want to create a space where families can connect, where kids can see their parents relax and enjoy life even if money is tight, where everyone knows they'll be treated with respect no matter how much they spend. As their conversation unfolded, something remarkable began to happen in the restaurant. Other diners, instead of returning to their meals and conversations, were captivated by the unexpected scene playing out before them. The courtesy and kindness Elon showed toward the young waiter who had just ruined his equipment touched everyone present. Across the restaurant, discussions shifted to observations of what was happening at the corner table. People watched not with the curiosity of those expecting a scene, but with genuine appreciation for the unexpected moment of human connection unfolding before them. At a nearby table, an elderly woman whispered to her husband, "That young man was so scared, and look how gracious Mr. Musk is being. You don't see that kind of grace often these days." A mother dining with her teenage son seized the moment as an impromptu life lesson. "See how he's handling this? That's what character looks like. Anyone can be kind when things go well. How you react when things go wrong shows who you really are." Even the restaurant staff, initially tense with worry about the incident's impact on their jobs and the restaurant's reputation, now exchanged looks of relief and admiration. Maria Marconi, efficiently covering Tommy's tables while keeping an eye on the situation, couldn't help but smile at the unexpected turn of events. When Tommy finally returned to work, his confidence visibly restored and his smile genuine, Elon made an announcement that surprised the entire restaurant. "I want everyone here to know something," he said, addressing the whole room. "What just happened reminded me of something I'd forgotten. We live in a world where people are quick to anger and slow to forgive. But this young man was doing his best at a challenging job, and when he made a mistake, he immediately took responsibility and tried to fix it." The restaurant fell silent as Elon spoke. It was a surreal moment, one of the world's most influential business leaders addressing a room full of ordinary people enjoying their Tuesday dinner. Yet there was nothing rehearsed or theatrical in his words, they carried the weight of a sincere realization. He gestured toward Tommy, who was now efficiently serving other tables with renewed confidence. "That's the kind of character that will take him far in life. I'm not upset about a laptop that can be replaced, but I'm grateful for the reminder of what really matters, how we treat each other when things don't go as planned." The entire restaurant erupted in spontaneous applause, and several patrons approached Tommy throughout the evening to offer encouragement and praise for his professionalism under pressure. The applause both flustered and buoyed Tommy. As he moved from table to table for the rest of his shift, his posture was straighter, his smile more confident. The disaster he feared would end his job had somehow transformed into a positive experience that strengthened his sense of purpose and belonging in this community. Throughout the evening, diners stopped him to offer words of support or share similar stories of workplace mishaps and gracious responses. An elderly man, who introduced himself as a retired restaurateur, handed him a business card with an offer to mentor him. A group of students his age invited him to join their university business club. What could have been the worst night of Tommy's working life had somehow become a powerful affirmation of his path and potential. The burden of family responsibilities and financial worries that weighed on him felt a little lighter as he absorbed this unexpected community support. As Elon prepared to leave later that evening, he quietly arranged with Giuseppe to cover Tommy's college tuition through the remainder of his program, with one condition: the gesture was to remain confidential unless Tommy chose to reveal it. The conversation took place in Giuseppe's small office at the back of the restaurant, away from the curious eyes of patrons and staff. Elon requested a private word with Giuseppe before departing, and the restaurant owner led him to the modest room, lined with family photos and cluttered with cookbooks and business records. "I'd like to do something for Tommy," Elon said without preamble once the door closed. This concludes our narrative journey. I trust you found this gripping saga of intrigue, cutting-edge innovation, and astonishing discoveries captivating. From where are you tuning in today? I'm curious to learn which corner of the globe this tale has touched. If this escapade held your interest, please give this video a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel for a steady stream of compelling, mind-expanding stories just like this one. Fresh material is posted frequently, ensuring you're always in the loop for the newest spellbinding adventures. Be sure to pass this video along to your loved ones and friends. It's a great way to share positivity and insight while expanding our circle of story enthusiasts. Your encouragement is invaluable. Thank you for joining me, and I look forward to welcoming you back for the next tale.